Hey, our cows. What is up? Hang on. I have to open my window because it's super hot in here. Oh my God. Of course that happens. You guys know I'm a hot mess. And yes, I got pajamas on, but I have to open my window a little bit. It's super hot. Hi, hello. Sorry, just getting prepared over here. As I sat down and took a sip of my coffee, I'm like, oh my God, it's so hot. I had to open the window. So, hi, how are you? Say hey as you're jumping on. Are you watching live or are you watching the recording of this, the replay? I'm going to send out a couple invites because we got some things to talk about this morning, guys. It is New Year's Eve, the end of 2020. Who's ready to say goodbye to 2020? I know I am. I'm ready to say goodbye to 2020. I'm ready to take 2021 by the horns. It's going to be amazing. So do me a favor, tag and invite your teams here. Share this video if you have any group chats with your teams going on, because I really want to help get you in the right mindset going into 2021. I know that 2020 was a crazy year for so many people. I mean, pretty much the entire world, like 2020 was a show, okay? And so we're going to forget that. We're going to say goodbye to 2020, and we're going to move on with new goals, new ambition, new mindset, to have the most success possible in 2021 with your business. Hey, Lori. Hey, Julie. Say hey as you're jumping on, guys. So listen, I want to give you 3 things, okay, that are going to really help maximize your efficiency in 2021, okay? And I know the new year is the perfect time to set New Year's goals and resolutions and look at the year as if with all this change, right? Oh, this is going to be my year. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to, start a new project, whatever, right? We always have these ambitious goals and things going into the new year because it's a new time to start fresh. And so it's always the great time, but it only matters if you continue with things like that, okay? So I want to really make sure I'm helping you guys see a vision for yourself in 2020, and how you're able to actually going to be able to follow through on your goals, okay? Because this is the time of year where people say that they want to do new things and change new things and try new things, but then they don't do it, okay? Did you know that 80% of people who make New Year's resolutions stop those resolutions by February? Probably even before February. They're done with them. How many times have you said to yourself, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to quit smoking, I'm going to fill in the blank, right? Whatever it is. I know for myself, I mean, I'm no longer a smoker, but many years ago, before I had kids, I smoked, and every year I was like, oh, New Year's resolution, I'm going to quit. And then later that day, I'd be picking up a freaking pack of cigarettes. Maybe that's a bad analogy, but it just goes to show you that unless you are willing and ready to make a change for yourself in your business or in your life, then none of it's going to matter. You have to have the right mindset. So if you have the right mindset, drop a little brain emoji below so I know we're on the same page, okay? So lots of us too had an awesome 2020. 2020 also, even though as crappy as it was for the regular world, right, in real life, it also brought a lot of hyper growth through Scentsy. A lot of you promoted to Scentsy. If you had a promotion in 2020 to Scentsy, a lot of you promoted in 2020. If you promoted in 2020, let me know. What'd you promote to? I want to know your title. You should be so proud of yourself. And yeah, 2020 was a big year for growth. Hey, Becca. In Scentsy, right? A lot of it, because we're not doing online parties and stuff, we had a lot of online things happening. It became more of an e-commerce thing over 2020 because it's just so easy for people to shop your website. And a lot of it is contributed to the growth, the hyper growth that we had, having a good year. So I want you guys to hold on to that. If you had an awesome 2020, look at Lori Gowden or Gaden. I forget. Lori, tell me how to say your name. I know I always do that. Lori, I always want to say it that way. Promoted to director. We had so many directors promote this year in 2020. I'm so excited. Amber Knapp, director. Amber Knapp says she promoted to director and definitely wasn't expecting it to happen when it did. right? Like out of the crazy year that 2020 was, go Dan. There you go. I know you said that before. I'm so sorry. But yeah, like it's just such a crazy year, and we had this amazing growth and change in our businesses. So it's awesome, right? So I want you guys to hold on to that going into 2020, because listen, nothing is changing in 2020 in the world around us. In 2021 in the world around us, unfortunately. As much as we would love it to, things are still going to be the way that they are regarding COVID, masks, everything, right? Like whatever's happened in 2020 is still going to be that way, okay? Until things eventually change, hopefully, until they go back, right? Hopefully. We don't know. We'll never know. So we have to adapt. We have to make sure that what we did in 2020, right? A lot of us had to adapt. We had to adapt to the world around us. Like Scentsy being a party planning company, many of us have done home parties. How many of you were home party people or vendor show people before COVID existed, right? And then COVID came and you had to adapt, right? Like for me, myself, I had to do a lot of online stuff and stop doing home parties. I didn't do one home party or one vendor show at all in 2020. But I still had the most successful year that I've ever had in my entire business. I promoted to the top of the compensation plan in a time when I've never done a home party or a vendor show. I've grown my customer base, like probably tripled my customer base through Instagram stories, because a lot of that was doing online, right? And the reason why things like that have happened was because I adapted to my circumstances that were given to me, right? We can't control what happens to us. We can't control what happens in our lives, or COVID, or any natural disasters, or anything that's going on, health crisis, whatever you want to call it. Like, we can't control those things, but what we can control is the way that we adapt to them and how we can find solutions to be better, okay? So if you struggled in 2020, and maybe 2020 wasn't your best year regarding Scentsy, I want you to wipe the slate clean. It is completely fine. You're going to say goodbye to 2020 today, and you're going to move on with a brand new slate tomorrow morning. Okay? Because what happened in 2020 that didn't work for you does not matter, because that was yesterday. Okay? One of my favorite quotes that I've heard recently is that your future may be blurry, but your past is a trap. And if you hold on to that and linger in that, then it's only going to prevent you from moving forward. So I want everybody to say goodbye to 2020. If you had an awesome year, hold on to that and let that propel you forward. Same thing if 2020 wasn't your best year. Let that be your motivation for the year going forward, okay? Every dollar of my PRV was from online parties this year. Yes, awesome. It's so awesome. It's just the trend that we're moving toward is more online and just a new way of doing things. And so listen, I want to always encourage you guys, regardless if COVID exists or not, that you are always willing to try new things and be well-rounded in your business, okay? The best thing that you can do, if you guys have been with me for a while, you've heard me say this, is trial and error. You're not gonna know like what works and what doesn't work in your business or in life in general if you don't try things and learn to adapt to new things. And if it's not working, it means you need to try to find a new solution for something else. If you feel like you don't know how to meet people, then you need to figure out a way to do that. Like what you have to evaluate and say, what am I doing right now, like, to do this? Let's say, for example, because now I'm preaching, let's say, for example, you're struggling in finding new contacts, right? New people to talk to about Scentsy. You have to say to yourself, okay, what did I do in 2020? What did I do this year that I was doing to talk to new people? You might even question yourself and say, did I actually do anything to meet new people? Or was I just throwing up a post on Facebook and hoping that people see it, right? So evaluating those things, and I'm kind of getting ahead of myself a little bit, but it's all about just like thinking about what works and what doesn't. And going into the new year, you have to just know that like whatever you're doing that wasn't working, just try something new, okay? So I want to give you just a couple of things that I'm doing right now that I like to do at this time of year to set myself up for success in the new year. Every action you take in the new year needs to come with the question of, is this going to help me reach, is this going to get me closer or further from my goals? Every action you take, okay? And be intentional about that. Some of the things that I like to do, like I said, is declutter. So next week, I'm going to come live and show you guys my office. I have been decluttering and organizing. If some of you have been following my Instagram stories, I've been sharing a lot in there about that. I've talked a little bit about it here on the team page, but I have just been like purging. I've literally purged 5 years of my business in my tiny little office. And guys, I have a tiny office. I've been with Scentsy for 5 years. This last house that we moved into, this most recent house, my office is much smaller, but I made it work for me, okay? I made it work. I have systems in place, like organizational systems in place in my business, so I could just grab and go because my time is valuable. So when I come up here to go to work my business in the small amount of time I have around my husband's crazy schedule, around being a mom of 3 kids, around breastfeeding a 10-month-old baby, like trust me, I get the struggle too. Like I could find all the reasons to not work my business, but I want it to be as impactful as possible. I want to be able to come up here when I work my business and just know that what I'm doing is income producing, right? The things that are going to matter. So if your space is not like organized and you're kind of all over the place and your first, has this ever happened to you where you come to work your business and maybe it's flyers or whatever or a customer order that you're packaging for your customer, but then you're putting in flyers, right? Before you can even put the flyers in, you're stopping to make the damn flyers or the labels. Then you got to print them out. Then sometimes you're like, wait, hold on. Where's my labels? Where's my tape? What did I do? Where's my ribbon, right? Like, have you ever felt like crazed like that when working your Scentsy business? Because I can promise you I have 100%. And it took me a long time to realize that you have to have an organized space in order to think clearly in your business and in order to just really be productive. I think about when I was working full-time. Before I did Scentsy, I was administrative assistant for a long time. For many years, I always like hopped around job to job, but that was sort of the field that I worked in. And so it was an office job, right? And so every day when I went into work, there would be a place for everything. I knew exactly where the labels were if I needed to make a label. I knew exactly where the copy machine was if I needed to go make copies and, all the things. Like I knew everything had a place and my mother always used to say, a place for everything and everything in its place. And so when I went into work, I would clock into work and I would just start doing my job and what my tasks were for that day. And I wasn't like consumed with all this mess because my office, like the office, not my office, the office that I worked at was organized as it should be, as any business, sustainable business should be. So your space needs to be that way too. Again, I'm going to touch on this a little bit more next week when I come live, and I'm actually going to share with you, I have like organizational systems and things that I've been doing. I'm so excited to share with you guys my office space and how I'm organizing things to help me have the most productivity and efficiency in my business. Because again, time is money. We can't be wasting time doing things in our business that are not worth it. They're not worth it, okay? So I'm not going to talk too much about decluttering because that's going to be next week. I'm going to come on here and chat with you and show you. But that is something that you should do, okay? Regardless of the size space of your office. How many of you have an office, or maybe you have, like, tell me what you have. Do you have a corner in your dining room? Do you have an office for yourself? Is it in your basement? Maybe it's just like a little like space on your kitchen table. That's completely fine too. When I first joined Scentsy, for like the first 2 or 3, well, maybe like I would say 3 to 6 months of my business, I worked my business out of my kit box. No joke. That giant kit that comes in your, when you join Scentsy in that big box, that's where I worked my business from. That's where I kept all my supplies, all my products. I kept everything in that box right in my kitchen. And that's how I worked my business. But you have to have a space for it. Alicia says, it used to be my daughter's closet. Now she has an office shared with her hubby. Awesome. Yeah, like your spaces, your things will change, but you have to try and like stay as organized as possible. So the first thing that I think is really important going into the new year is decluttering. Now, decluttering, Julie says boxes and organizers. There you go. Literally, as long as you know where things are, that's all that matters. As long as you know where they are so you can grab and go. But so decluttering comes with a few things that I like to do. Now, my office space, obviously, right? I also like to declutter. Sounds silly, but at this time of year, I'll go on my computer and I'll go to like the downloads that I've downloaded throughout the year. Like maybe they were flyers or pictures or PDFs or documents or things that like I was using in my business, and I'll delete them. I'll get rid of it. Sometimes, have you ever like worked on your computer? I mean, the thing is, I work my business from my computer. A lot of people work on their phone, right? So maybe it's your phone too that you need to clear out. Maybe it's like apps that you've downloaded that you realize you're not using anymore, and clearing those out. But like I find throughout the year, as I've used those things start to slow down. My computer slows down, my phone starts freezing up, right? Has that ever happened to you? Because it's like information overload. And how can you think when there's just too much information? So it's the same thing with your computer, and you want to be able to be time efficient. So those are just some types of things that I also declutter in addition to my office. I will go on my computer, I'll look on my phone, I'll just clear old things out. You know what I also will declutter, which sounds really crazy, is old emails that I've subscribed to throughout the years. Have you ever get stuck on a Facebook ad and it like totally sucks you in and it's like, hey, do you want to grow your business online? Right? And it has like this like the perfect caption and you're like, yes. And you click the button and then all of a sudden you get like an email chain of freaking things from whoever that was setting up that ad, and you keep getting email after email after email, but it's just clouding your inbox. And then maybe you missed an important email from Scentsy because of it, or an important email from a team member or a customer, right? Or even not missing anything, but just like feeling clouded. Like, I don't know about you guys, but when I see those red notifications, my mind goes haywire. I'm like, I have to clear them out. I hate them so much, because from somebody like me, I need structure. I'm very like scattered person. I like to say I'm self-proclaimed ADHD. Like, I have to have structure in place in order for my brain to function properly. So if you're somebody like that, it's probably best if you clear your notifications. Even turn your notifications off. That could probably be the best thing for you. But clearing those things out. And not just deleting the emails, but like unsubscribing to things that are not bringing you value, okay? Sometimes in this business, we think we need to do all the things. We need to, make all the samples, do all the labels, get all the cute, pretty ribbon and glitter and confetti and things that other consultants are doing, because the way that we learn this business is through the ideas of other people, right? There's no manual when you join Scentsy. I mean, it would be nice, right? But there's no like employee handbook. When you work a regular job, you get an employee handbook with the rules and you're taught and you're trained a certain way. As a business owner, you have to do that yourself. You have to teach yourself everything. You need to train yourself in everything. You need to learn how to do everything as a CEO of your own business. And so the way that we do that is we get ideas from other people. You go on YouTube, you watch trainings, you maybe have seen things here on this team page, right? Like, there's so many ideas out there on how to work this business, but what happens is you end up in this analysis paralysis where you are comparing yourself to other people. You're watching what other people are doing and thinking that that's the right way to do it. It's not good. So all you really need are to do a few things really, really well in this business. You don't have to have all the things. I promise you that. I just cleared out 5 years of my business. Like, I threw out things that I was like, I don't even need this anymore. Like stuff from like trips that I've been on in Scentsy, and they're just sitting there collecting dust. And I'm thinking I need it because I saw one consultant shared in her office, like all her lanyards that are hanging up. And I'm like, I need to do that, right? Like, you just need to do, and that's just like decluttering stuff, but like as far as your business and being successful, you just have to do a few small things really, really well. A few small things really, really well. You don't need all the things. I'm telling you guys. What you need to focus on is PRV, okay? You need to focus on sponsoring, aka recruiting, and then training your people. That's literally all it is. It's like the 3 core like pieces to your business that are going to help you be successful. You don't have to worry about all the samples, all the labels. Now, listen, things like that, yes, are important, right? Like marketing your business, letting people know about specials, and, maybe there's just like a promotion or something that you want to run that month. Like, yes, all those things are valid and they're good from time to time, but if it's not bringing you an income, I want you to let it go. Why are you wasting your time? The number one thing that people tell me when they decide to give up give up doing Scentsy and they say, hey, I'm not, joining Scentsy anymore, I'm canceling, or maybe they're just been inactive, and sometimes I'd reach out and I'd be like, hey, what's going on? And they're like, yeah, I'm going to take a break from Scentsy. Do you know what the number one thing is that people say? And I'll be like, well, what do you think you're spending the most time on? Like, what is the most time consuming thing to you right now that's overwhelming you? The number one thing they say is samples. The number one thing, it's always, always samples. Do you ever feel like you make tons and tons and tons of samples and then they're just sitting there, right? That's a time sucker. You just wasted so much time wasting samples unless you are sending them out. The only time you should be making samples is if you are being intentional about sending them out to your customers and then following up to get orders, parties, and or recruits from them. Plain and simple. You should not be wasting time on things like that. You shouldn't. Hey, Colleen. So, it's just important that you understand what those core values of your, like the fundamentals of your business are. Is PRV. Those are things you should focus on. Like, how do I get my PRV? Okay, so if PRV equals money, that's our paid commission. How am I going to get my PRV in January? Is it going to be through parties, right? Because parties are ultimately going to be the way that you're going to meet people. What kind of parties? Online parties, pouch parties. Like, what am I going to be doing this month in January, coming up in order to increase my sales? Is it going to be follow-up with my customers? What kind of follow-up system do I have, right? Like, I want to help you guys kind of break that down a little bit. But PRV, sponsoring, AKA, like I said, recruiting, is always going to be the biggest game changer for your business. It's going to completely change your business if you start recruiting. I'm just putting it out there. It will completely change your business if you start building a team. That is the number one way that you're going to see the growth that you want within your organization, is if you start recruiting. So start thinking about, going into the new year, who's on your Scentsy radar? Who you know that you're having conversations with or could have conversations with about Scentsy. So often we want to build teams, but we're too afraid to share the opportunity. And I don't understand why, because we could share the product. If you can share the product, you can sure as heck share the business opportunity with the same amount of passion. It's the same thing. Scentsy is literally life-changing. And for the first time in 2020, well, I shouldn't say for the first time, but 2020 was the year that changed it all for me, like noticing that strong leaders within my organization are ultimately going to be a big passageway to growth. And it took me 5 years to realize that. So now I know what I need to do going forward into 2021. I know what my vision is and I know what my game plan is, which I'll talk about in a second. But I want you guys to focus on the things that matter and don't feel like you need to be overwhelmed with all the things that don't matter or don't work. If your online parties are not working, stop doing them. Stop wasting, stop doing them the way that you're doing, okay? Because obviously right now, COVID, online parties are a great way to meet people. But if what you're doing is not working, then stop doing it. They say that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over and over and expecting a different result. Stop expecting a different result when you keep doing the same thing that's not working. Okay? You have to figure out like new solutions. So again, if it's Facebook parties, right? Maybe you're doing a Facebook party and your layout or your template that you're doing is just like, it's not gaining any interest. Nobody's buying. The host is not engaged. You have to say to yourself, okay, what am I doing right now? How am I communicating with my host? What could I do different? That one question could be the biggest game changer for you in 2021. What could I do different? I'm telling you, if you ask yourself that, you're going to see a complete turnaround in your business in 2021. With everything you do, what could I do different? What could I do different? And does this get me closer to or further from my goal? 2 questions I just gave you, okay? So decluttering planning is another big thing, okay? So I don't know about you guys. I aspire to have I've done like the Erin Condren, the Happy Planner. I actually use a Happy Planner, but I don't use it for like scheduling. I use this more so for systems in my business, which I'll kind of touch on in a second. But what I use, because I'm very visual too, so I'm like somebody who I have to see it. If I don't see it, it's out of sight, out of mind. It doesn't get done. So oftentimes when I was like, yeah, I'm going to get a planner in the new year, and I spend the freaking $50, $60 on like the bells and whistles of a planner because I think that that's all that I need to be successful and to plan and have everything all in order. But what happens is I would write down things and then I'd close it and put it away and I wouldn't see it. I'm so visual. Are you visual? Are you a visual learner? I know a lot of people are. That's why I feel like I work really well from a computer, because it's literally right in front of my face. My phone, I work from it, I put it down, I close it, I start doing something else, and then I don't see it and I forget. I want to tell you guys something that I'm admitting to is that I'm terrible with responding back to messages, even with my customers. And it's because like when I go to work my business, I have to be in like business mindset in front of my computer. It's just the way that like my brain works. It's visual. So if someone messaged me and I'm like out or I'm driving and I see it, because I'm not in business mode, I don't respond to it. And then I just leave the message unopened so that I know I have to respond. And then I'm like, okay, when I go to my office, I'm going to respond to that message. And what happens is like I get caught behind, okay? So I just want to let you guys know, like, I struggle with things like that too, all the time. If you've gotten messages from me, I've probably been like, hey, sorry, just seeing your message. And listen, one thing I'm doing for myself too, I'm telling myself I'm no longer saying sorry in 2021. I'm not apologizing for things like that. Too often I'm like, hey, sorry, couldn't get your message. Hey, sorry, I was able to put your order in late. Hey, sorry. Like, no, we're not doing that in 2020. I'm not doing that in 2020. Or I'm sorry, I keep saying 2020. 2021, I'm not apologizing anymore. Unless there was something to truly apologize for, I don't think you should be doing it. And that's a lesson that I've learned myself. So planning, what I use is a visual calendar. This is literally how I plan things. I have this usually hanging up right here behind my computer desk, and I'm big on color coding. I know that this sounds super squirrely, but this is what works for me. My orange days are days that my husband is off. I schedule everything around his schedule. Like I can't work my business if he's not here. We just kind of we conflict our schedules. So when he's home, I'm actually working my business because he's watching my 10-month-old baby while my other kids are in school. All my green days are for my parties and my events. Green equals money. So I have those days scheduled out. Maybe it's a Facebook party. Maybe it's like a meetup with, someone who's thinking about joining, or bringing them a pouch party, whatever the case is. My pink is my family and my personal days, if I have doctor's appointments, things going on for my kids. And then my blue, this is new that I'm incorporating, are my work days, because I'm really trying to track my hours this year and the time that I'm actually spending on my business. I'm big on tracking. I found like a little software that has been working for me that I'd be happy to come on here at another time and share with you guys. But I really I feel like when you track things in your business, it helps you evaluate and look at things how they were like throughout the year. And so it helps you be like, okay, what was I doing here? Like, it just helps you like reevaluate things for yourself in your business. So anyway, I'm kind of drifting, but planning, right? So do you have a planner? What do you use? Do you use a planner? Are you visual? Do you use a calendar? Do you have just like a little, like, are you a planner type person? Do you have just like a monthly layout? Like, what's your MO when it comes to planning in your business? Do you plan at all? Maybe you don't, and that's fine. Some people are just not planners. But I will tell you that I don't think any successful business, whether you're direct sales or not, without having a plan. Like, the most sustainable businesses have plans and goals, right? They have a mission. Think about the Sensi mission statement. They have a plan. Like, they know what their mission is for the business, for their organization, for their business. And it's the same thing for you. Not saying that you have to create a mission statement for your business, but you have to have some idea of what you want. You have to have some idea of what you want out of your business and out of the new year going forward. Okay, so your planner, also setting goals. This kind of goes into knowing what you want. We always talk about the long-term goals, right? Like, oh, I want to take my kids to Disney someday, or oh, I want to buy a house, or pay off my debt, or get a new car, right? Like, those are great big goals that you should aspire to in your business. You should always hang on to that, because that will always be a part of your why you do this. It's because I want to take my kids to Disney. It's because I want to get a new car. It's because I want to pay off debt. Those are always going to be things that you should keep your eye on, but I want you guys to focus more on the immediate goals. What are the little goals that are going to get you to those bigger goals? I will never forget this. This is something that has always stood out to me well before I joined Sensi. for those of you who know, maybe you don't, my mother passed away. This will be July, next July will be 15 years that she's gone. After she has passed away, I was seeing a therapist that my aunt and uncle had set up for me. I was 22 years old when my mom passed. And I remember I would see her every Friday. I could have a bad day at work and I would just go and see her and my whole day would just be better. Even if I didn't chat about my mom or anything, I would just, see this therapist. And it was great. And one of the things that she said to me was like, in order to reach a big goal, you have to break it down into small, manageable chunks, like small tasks. So at the time, here's another little fun fact that you should know about me is that I never graduated high school. I dropped out. I got my GED, which just goes to show you that you can still have success in life without those things that freaking society tells you need, but that's another subject for another day. But at the time, I was looking to get my GED. And I remember her saying to me, us having a conversation, and she said, so you want to get your GED, so you have to think about, like, what are the steps that it's going to take for you to get there? Because I've always been the type of person where I said I was going to do a thing and I never followed through. Oh, I want to do this someday. Someday I'm going to fill in the blank, X, Y, Z. That's always been me. My whole life. Like, it was only probably like since having kids and really joining Scentsy and finding out so much about myself through personal development that I've realized like where I needed to change those things. But my whole life, I've never followed through on stuff like that. And so I would always say, yes, I'm going to go for my GED. Yes, I'm going to do this. Yes, I'm going to do that. So she said, you have to literally write down the steps that it's going to take to get you to that ultimate goal. And so one of the very first things would be, okay, what do you have to do? I have to Google what the school number is that I'm going to go to. First step, write it down, check it off. What is the next step from there? I need to call the office. Okay, called the office, inquired about information, check it off my list. The next step would be to schedule my exam, right? Like, I know it sounds so silly, but it was just little tiny steps that ultimately, do you know what happened? Is I ended up getting my GED like that following year. And for so long, I put it off because I didn't have a plan. I didn't have action. I didn't have steps that I was doing to get there. And it's the same thing in your business. You have to have like small, manageable things, manageable goals that you can work toward, that are going to push you, maybe stretch you a little bit, but are still going to be impactful in helping you reach that ultimate goal of taking your kids to Disney, of paying off debt, of getting a new car. Whatever that goal is, how are you going to do it? How are you going to get there? It could be even something like, oh, hey, I want to grow my team next year. Okay, what's your game plan? What are you going to do? I need to make a list of contacts that could possibly want to join Scentsy. That's my first step, right? Like, who do I know? The next thing would be reaching out. What am I going to say to them? Maybe I can come up with like a little bit of a verbiage, right? Like breaking it down into the tiniest, smallest chunks. Are you guys picking up what I'm putting down? Does this make any sense to you? I hope that it does. So, planning, setting goals. Are you going for any type of promotions next year? Let me tell you guys, we have an awesome thing coming for those of you who are looking to grow in 2021. Like if you're looking to grow, if you have Scentsy Director and above, or you see the Scentsy vision, you want something out of this business, I want you to drop a star emoji down below because 2021 is going to be your year. We have an awesome program coming that I'm going to be announcing later. Okay, and anybody's going to be able to opt in. I'm so excited for it. It's going to be a game changer for success if you allow it to be, but you have to be ready and you have to be willing and wanting it, okay? So that's coming, right? But just like think about those goals. Think about what you want out of 2021 and the path that you're going to take to get there and the small steps that you're going to take that are going to help reach you towards those goals, okay? One last thing I want to tell you. So we have decluttering, we have planning, and then the last thing is challenging yourself, okay? So with that, I want you guys to think of a word. You may or may not have heard this before. Maybe you have a word already. Maybe you've heard people say, oh, my word is, and you're like, wait, what does that matter? What's your word, okay? So a word for the new year is basically like something that you aspire to do, that you would like to see for yourself in the following year, okay? Every year of my business, I've always picked a word and I sort of like stuck to it and I sort of like lived up to my word that I picked. 2020 was the only year that I did not pick a word, and it's so funny. This is the year that I've had the most growth. But 2020 has been an insane year, so I'm blaming it on that. But 2016, I joined Scentsy in 2015. So 2016, my word for the year was inspire. I wanted to make it my mission to inspire the people around me. I saw the Scentsy vision. I knew that if I could show others how amazing this business is, that they would want to do it too, and that I could help them as well. So that was a big goal for me in 2021, was to inspire people. And I really feel like I lived up to that. 2016, I said 2020. 2016 was a year of fast growth for me. If any of you know my story, I promoted to director within 6 months of joining. But then I had a lot of hyper growth within that time, but then I also plateaued for 4 years, you guys. I only promoted to star director. So after director, there's star director and then superstar director, right? 6 months of joining, I went straight to director, but then I stayed at director for 4 years straight. 4 years straight. It was only up until April of 2020 that I promoted to star director, and then a few months later I hit superstar director, okay? So that was like a crazy plateau for 4 years of my business, and I want you guys to know that I have been there. I understand the struggle. I know I've been in the trenches with you. I know what it's like to feel stuck. I stayed at director for 4 years. Do you know how especially after having such hyper growth, how it's almost like a kick to your ego when you're like, well, I grew so fast before, what's going on now, So we all go through that. You're never going to have moments in your business where you're constantly on the up and up. You're always going to have moments where you dip and then you rise. And I always say they're called hills and valleys in your business. So you need to learn how to ebb and flow with your hills and valleys. When you're in those trenches, when you are in the moments that you're feeling stuck, you need to figure out how you're going to rise above that and what you're going to do to change it, okay? Or what you're going to do to maintain it. I've always, no matter what, even when I felt stuck for so many years, I've stayed consistent. I kept going because I knew, I would say to myself, I don't care if it takes me 10 years, I'm going to get to SSD. I don't care if it takes me 10 years, I'm going to make $10,000 paychecks. I don't care if it takes me 10 years, I'm going to do it because I see the Scentsy vision and I know what I want and I know what this business can bring, and that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so I want you guys, no matter what that is for yourself, hold on to that. Do not give up when times get hard, because the times that you give up, the times that they are hardest, are the times that matter the most. I feel like I'm preaching this morning, but that is the time that matters most, is when it feels hardest. That's the time that it's going to matter, where you're going to say to yourself, wow, you know what? I'm so glad that I stuck it out. Because I look back now, 5 years later, after promoting to superstar director, and saying, imagine if I would have quit. I stayed a director for 4 years. Imagine. And trust me, I had plenty of shiny objects that came along the way. I had plenty of people that messaged me about business opportunities and things that were coming along, new up and coming companies that looked awesome, right? That I see people sharing and posting about. It all felt great. Did I ever join those companies? Nope. Did I ever think about it? I might have had times that it crossed my mind, but I stayed consistent because I know that consistency always wins. Okay? So anyway, going forward with your word, right? So that was 2016. I want to say, I don't remember exactly. I don't want to walk you through all of my words, but basically I had a word every single year that I kind of tried to stay through. And so I want to encourage you guys to pick a word for the new year that you think is going to challenge you a bit, that you think you're going to be consistent in, and that you're going to really aspire to do throughout the new year. If you have a word for the new year, I would love to know what it is. My word for 2021 is develop. 2020 was the year that I really saw a big change in my business due to the leaders that were born within my organization. And it's something that I always knew was important to have strong leaders in your organization, but it's like I always knew it was important, but I never really focused on it until it happened for me. And not that we don't have strong leaders throughout, but I mean specifically directors. And so we have some really amazing directors in this group. And it's just been so amazing to watch the growth within them. And through that, it's opened my eyes to what I know I need to do for my own business and my own organization. And so I want you guys to think about your year, like 2020, okay? Development. Oh, Becca, that's your word? That's my word. That's so funny. I want you guys to think about, oh my God, mine is develop. Sorry, it's not development. I want you guys to think about 2020 and what has happened for you that was good this year, or maybe it was something that you want to change, right? Like what happened this year in 2020 that you would like to either propel with, that you would either like to see, maybe it opened your eyes to something. Like for me, like I said, I noticed this year, like having our directors in our, the growth that we've had, it just opened my eyes to know that that's what I need to focus on. That's what I need to do. I need to help develop and build new leaders. And that's a big goal for me this year in 2021. So that's why my word is develop. Like I said, guys, I have an awesome program coming for you. If you're looking to have, if you have Scentsy Director on your eyes, that's coming in 2021. And because that's a goal of mine, it's a big focus for me in 2021 to do that. So I'm acting on it. I'm ready to build all the leaders. I'm ready to take you all with me. I'm ready to help change your businesses and change lives. And I know that's such a cliche saying, but I truly see the Scentsy vision. And after 5 years, it's almost like it solidifies all of my consistency over this past 5 years. It makes me be like, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be at this time. And I just want to bring you all with me. So that's my word, but I want to, encourage you to pick a word that's going to challenge you, that might stretch you a little bit, to maybe it's something that's going to pull you out of your comfort zone a little bit. It could be one word, it could be 2 words, it could be a phrase, whatever speaks to you. Maybe it's something like, meeting new people, right? Maybe that's something that you really want to do in 2021. So maybe your word, I'm just giving examples, could be expand, right? Expand yourself, expand your network, expand your surroundings, expand your abilities, expand what you do. It doesn't just have to be to one thing. It could fit all, different aspects of your life. It doesn't just have to be, that. So Becca, I'd love to know, since we have a similar word, why did you pick development? I love that. But yeah, have it be something that's going to be challenging to you. I also want you guys to know to be patient and to take chances on yourself, okay? Because Rome was not built in a day. I told you I stayed at director for 4 years of my business. If I didn't stay consistent, if I wasn't patient, I wouldn't be sitting here preaching today. I wouldn't be sitting here telling you why you need to be consistent. Because so many times people come into this business and they get so mad or they give up when they don't see success after one party that flops, or after one host that's not engaged, or after one person tells them no, after that person who was thinking about joining their team decides not to join. They give up. And I want to encourage you to not give up, to continue going. Okay? I want you to have that same fire in you to know that I don't care if it takes me 10 years. I had that. I don't care if it takes me 10 years. I'm going to do it because I know if I spend 10 years of my life to get me to the type of income that I know is literally overshadowing doctors and lawyers and the type of big time income that I know is possible through this business, then I don't care if it takes me 10 years. I'm going to do it. So that's that, you guys. I'm going to let you go. I know I kind of rambled a little bit, but I hope that this was inspiring to you going into 2021. Let me know what your words are. I am so fired up. I'm so proud of our group this past year. We've had an insane amount of growth overall, and it's been a joy, literally, watching you guys grow this year and reach all your goals. So I'm so pumped for 2021, and I cannot wait to see what this new year brings us. So happy new year, guys. I'll talk to you all soon. Bye-bye.